As Canadians increasingly come to understand this country's very difficult history with Indigenous peoples, they don't always get to hear about the richness of Indigenous culture, history, and tradition, or how it shapes the daily work of creative professionals in their fields. We'd like to help a little with that tonight. So, joining us now, in Peguis First Nation, north of Winnipeg, Manitoba, designer Alyssia Sutherland, who is the driving force of her own couture brand. It's called Ali's Ribbons. And in Sudbury, Ontario, architect Eladia Smoke, Keshigabawik, who is Anishinaabekwe from Obishkakang or Lac Seul First Nation. She is principal of Smoke Architecture, a firm that specializes in Indigenous projects and has the most difficult name to pronounce of anyone who's ever been on this program. And Eladia, did I get close?
You did, Steve. Excellent job.
Okay, I tried my best. I really did. I want to thank both of you for coming on to TVO tonight. And we're going to talk about something that I suspect doesn't get nearly enough attention in media in this country, so we're going to do something about that tonight. Eladia, to you first. I don't know too many female Indigenous architects in this country, so tell us, you are one of how many?
Let me count here. We've got Rochelle Lemieux in Manitoba. We've got who's Métis. We've got Wanda Della Costa, who's the first Indigenous woman with a status Indian who was ever licensed across Canada. Harriet Burdett Moulton, who's now retired, but she's the first woman with Indigenous descent to be licensed as an architect. Uri Scott. We've got Kelly Bapty, and I think I'm drawing a blank. That might be close to all of us.
Oh my gosh, so you're talking about fewer than 10 here.
Oh, yes.
Okay, in which case, how does somebody like you end up in a profession like that? You obviously didn't have a lot of role models growing up in that regard.
Well, my dad was in the construction industry and told us an awful lot about how his experiences in northern housing really emphasized the need for Indigenous agency in the built environment, where we make our own decisions about the habitats we're creating. And I had a stepdad who trained as a designer. So I did have some passing familiarity with the building industry, and it seemed a natural fit with my skill sets. So I went for it. I didn't realize at the time how few of us there are out there. Indigenous architects represent less than 1% of the architects in Canada. They're still under 20.
Okay, Alyssia, let's do the same thing with you. In female Indigenous dress designers in this country, how many would you say?
I would say there's actually a growing amount. There's a lot of Indigenous women who are rising across Canada and across the U.S. So I have no number, and it's continuing to grow and grow. And I'm just one of many that are trying to do our best and get our stuff out there.
And what was your inspiration for going into this line of work?
My inspiration was kind of like creating something that out of nothing, if that makes sense. A lot of my work came from ceremonies and all that stuff, because I'm a reconnecting as well. I've been reconnecting for almost 8 years now, and so when I came in, I had no understanding of what the ribbon skirt or ribbon work was, and so I started playing with colors and patterns and designs, and it just grew from a feeling of feeling proud of who I am, and this is what it created today.
I gather there was a time when you needed a dress for a ceremony that you are supposed to take part in, and you didn't have one. And so your mother said what?
My mother-in-law, we were getting ready for our warrior ceremonies here in Peguis First Nation, and she asked me, do I have a skirt for ceremonies coming up, because I would always borrow her skirts, and I said no. And she said, okay, well, let's make you one. And she said, before we start anything, you smudge and you pray and you call upon your grandmothers and your grandfathers, you know, because they will guide you and they will help you. And you do that with anything that you do. And I was like, okay. So I was all nervous. And then she showed me how to thread a sewing machine. And then how to sew my first ribbon, how it should look and all that stuff. And then it just like a fire lit within me. And I was like, wow, I love this feeling of creating something that I'm going to wear in ceremony. And it just made me very proud to be who I am, very proud that I'm able to do that for myself. And then I wanted I wanted others to feel like that as well, because at the time I was going through postpartum depression with my first child. And then so when I got into that with my mother-in-law, I felt like I knew who I was. And this is what, you know, makes me feel proud of who I am. And I want to share that with everyone, especially youth.
Marvelous. Okay.
Yeah.
Eladia, I wonder how, or maybe you can tell me this, is it difficult to express yourself architecturally in a country where, as you look around, there is obviously a lot of architecture that is reminiscent of colonial times in this country? And I wonder if that inhibits your process.
It is a difficult hybridization that we tackle every day at work, and it's so interesting to hear Alyssia's process, because that's how we do it in our office too. We smudge. When you think about architecture, it's been used as a colonial device throughout the globe for a long time, because it has to do with establishing a relationship between yourself as a person, us as humans, and the rest of our environments. And when our relationship with our environment is one of exploitation and extraction, you have a certain type of architecture to express that. It expresses authority, hierarchy, control over one's environments. Indigenous architecture, from pre-contact times up until the present, has always been about bringing people together with our environments. So the interface between people and all of the life systems that support us has always been very soft, welcoming, and emphasizing the dependencies and interconnections that exist between human life and all other life. So when you look at, say, a wigwam, it has cosmological significance because it opens up gateways to the four directions. Each of those directions has teachings, what they mean. Our entrance is from the east, which is the direction of sunrise. We open up, an access to the sky, so that we acknowledge all the air creatures, Father Sun and Grandmother Moon. And then, that center is the direction of downward, connecting to Shikagamakwe, Mother Earth. And, right in the middle is that place of balance where the self resides. Often there's a drum to represent the shared heartbeat rhythm of all life systems. So when you dig into Indigenous architecture, there's huge facets of meaning, and the approach to creating those architectures is very different as well.
Well, let's look at some of your work. Can we do that right now? Because we've got some pictures here, and we'll put to picture what you have just described here, and you can help us understand how what we're seeing reflects that. For example, here's our first picture. This is a proposed Toronto library, and we see the exterior is wrapped in a metal sheet with diagonal stripes. Now, perhaps you could explain to us how what we're seeing here, or what I have described for those listening on podcast and who can't see it, how what we're seeing is guided by Indigenous creativity.
We used the star blanket as a jumping off point because the star blanket represents the attention and support of community for really good work that's being done in the community. We collaborated on Dawes Road Library with Perkins and Will, architectural firm, and Toronto Public Library was a really powerful client pushing very important engagement activities, and they were a joy to work with. This Dawes Road branch intends to bring through Indigenous knowledge carriers to meet and share their teachings in this space. So
I'm just going to get our director to put up some pictures of the interior and the exterior. Okay, there's an interior shot of the library, And yeah, by all means, pick up the story there. And there's another shot of the exterior.
Yes, that's right. So that star blanket wraps around all of this good work that's going to be happening in this library. The star blanket represents the attention of our ancestors who have moved into the celestial realm as stars. And in the center, there's a core to the building, which is this roundhouse. And the roundhouse is a place that also has all those cosmological significance that I explained regarding the wigwam. In addition, it's melded with an idea of the Haudenosaunee Longhouse, where the center bay of the Longhouse is where the clan mother resides. So that center, that core or heart of the building, is really the pivotal moment. And that place, that roundhouse, is situated adjacent to a roof garden where there's going to be a sacred fire.
Hang on, we just saw that. Sheldon, bring that picture up again, the last one, if you would. Okay, there's the roof garden. So pick up the story, if you would.
Yeah, there'll be Indigenous plantings on this roof garden. We'll be able to do some ceremony up there because there'll be a sacred fire. And there's a kitchen right beside, because whenever we do ceremony, we also have feasts. So food is a big part of things. So having a space that allows for Indigenous knowledge carriers to share their teachings in the formats that they make sense is really huge, and not something we see in the vast majority of Canadian architecture. Most spaces are rectangular. We're trying to always sit in a circle in a rectangle, and it's a little awkward. So there will be smudging in that roundhouse. That's, again, something that's frequently not anticipated in architectural environments. So it's really powerful, and I think there will be amazing work done in that new facility.
Wonderful. All right, Alyssia, your turn now. We're going to look. First of all, we can see in the background of your shot. Sheldon, let's go to a full shot. We see some of your product in the background already. Absolutely beautiful looking, but we're going to see some other pictures right now. So Sheldon, if you would, let's bring up, here we go here. Okay, vibrant colored dresses, aquamarine blues, light blues, green, mauve ribbons. Tell us, first of all, why is it called a ribbon dress?
Well, a ribbon dress. There's a lot of teachings behind a ribbon dress. So there's not a right or wrong way. My ribbon dresses are vibrant and colorful because I want my people who wear my work or any type of ribbon work to feel unbelievably proud. And I love to be noticed, and I want people to know that we're Indigenous. So a lot of the work that I use, color that I use, is to be, eye-catching, a statement. Let them know that I'm here and I'm bright and I'm proud.
Well, it's working. Let's bring that shot up again, Sheldon. Now, are these dresses for particular ceremonies?
These are more modern. They wear events. The more ceremonial stuff is more like a skirt with a couple ribbons, and your names on them, like your colors of what your name. And these are more modern. These are for because back in the day we weren't allowed to wear our skirts, and if we were, it was ceremonial and private. And so with my work, I want to create statements, and be vibrant in more colors. So this ribbon work that I do is for events, special events. You can graduations, naming ceremonies, red carpet events.
Let me ask you this. Is it appropriate for non-Indigenous people to wear these pieces of clothing?
For me, a lot of people are very yes and no. For me, I feel like if you wear it with a good spirit and you're wearing it in the right environment, I'm okay with it. But it might not be okay for everyone else.
Gotcha.
It goes with the designer of what their work is.
Okay. Okay, Sheldon, picture 6 if we can. And Alyssia, maybe you could tell us who's that third from the left?
The little short one, that's me.
Okay, very good.
And then Dante, the one in the hat, he's I forget where he's from, but they're with his brand is Sky Eagle, and they do a lot of everyday wear, and it's so unbelievably beautiful with the way that his clothing flows, and you just know that that's his work. And yeah, those are some of the designers that I've met when I was there in Cannes.
Gotcha. Now let's, Sheldon, if we can, two more pictures here. Picture 7, first of all. And boy, look at that. That's just beautiful colors, beautiful dress. And then let's go to picture number 8 as well. And now that's in an arena somewhere. Where is that?
I believe that's in Edmonton.
Okay, and
for
who's
the
wearing...
Oilers games.
Oh, that's an Oilers game. Okay, who's wearing your design here?
Ashley Collingbull.
Miss Universe.
Yes.
Okay, so you're with some heavy hitters here in terms of getting your product to people who can do you some good.
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm trying my best to create as much friendships and relationships. Like, I've dressed Ashley Collingbull, I believe, 3 or 4 times, and so building that connection and all that stuff like really means a lot to me. And she's such a good person, and she's such a good role model to the community, and she really tries to promote Indigenous fashion, like the earrings, the dresses, and she's always supporting us, and I'm really grateful for her.
Terrific. Okay, Eladia, let me get you back in here by asking, what do you think is the most distinctive thing about Indigenous architecture so that when non-Indigenous people look at it, they can say, oh yes, okay, I see the difference here, and it hits me where I live?
I would say the diversity of Indigenous nations, how we build, is so different across the continent. As we develop more practitioners in the field, I think we're going to see really powerful gestures that are very much of their place, because Indigenous architects draw upon ancestral knowledge that's been built up over thousands of years of inhabitation in the territories where they practice and live. So I think one of the things that I love about Indigenous architecture is it's so it reflects what the land can support and what the land is trying to teach us about ourselves. And when we create these spaces, what we're really doing is creating spaces where our cultural activities become possible, because in the majority of mainstream spaces, it's not possible to create our Indigenous cultural production. So, for example, I've seen groups of women come together to create ribbon dresses, such as Alyssia makes, and we sit in a circle, and we sit around a big table. Usually there's food available, and we're doing things together. And those types of spaces we really have to see more of. I think they'll enrich our experience of space for everyone in Canada. So I hope to see more of that deepening of Indigenous presence in architecture.
And I've had the great pleasure of interviewing Douglas Cardinal on this program once, and we know what an impact he's had on architecture in this country. What's the dream for you?
I would like to see, we're thinking of establishing a foundation to support young people coming into the profession, because we really need young people to consider architecture as a really viable career option. We need more of us in this field. And I think we have so much to offer Canadians at large. These environments just work because they're of their place. So I'm hoping to establish this foundation to support elders to share our knowledge systems in venues that really work, at times of the year that really work, and may not fit into your typical institutional educational formats. So I'm really hoping that this foundation can get that started. It's still in its talking phase right now, but we're inspired by the work of Sean Bailey, who's established a similar one in Manitoba. So, it's actually on the border of Manitoba and Ontario. So he's sort of established a similar land-based learning institution, and I can't wait to see how that unfolds as well.
And Alyssia, as I show two more pictures of your work, I want to do picture 7 again, Sheldon. Let's do that. Now that's in Cannes, France, I believe. And then let's do picture 9 now.
This is my my cousin. She's with her 4 daughters.
And where's that one taken?
Yes. This one is in our home community. We had a fashion show, I believe June 7th, and we were able to celebrate our community and to showcase.
So that's in Peguis then?
Yes, to showcase all the ribbon work.
Okay, so my last question for you is, what's a bigger deal for you? Cannes, France, or Peguis First Nation for showing your wares?
I would say it was kind of both. In Cannes, it's like new environment, so like I was really intimidated and meeting the other designers and networking. But in my home community, these people saw me grow up. I think that was a little bit more scary than Cannes because and it got me really emotional because they asked me to speak before my collection, and I was trying my best not to cry because I was the little girl on the side, like not really having these opportunities, and to see that the youth and the children were front and center, and especially the elders, it was really really emotional, and I just felt like this is now changed. This is what the future is going to be in our community.
Beautiful. I want to thank both of you, Alyssia Sutherland from Peguis First Nation and Eladia Smoke, Keishigabawik. I did it better the second time, I think, Eladia. I want to thank you both for coming on to TVO tonight and sharing your talents with our viewers and listeners. Miigwech.
Miigwech.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.